Iran cannot shoot what it cannot see. That sentence, 7 words, is the entire strategic logic behind the most consequential weapon America has deployed at the Strait of Hormuz on day 32 of Operation Epic Fury. Not a carrier strike group, not a bunker-busting bomb, not a marine amphibious assault. An electronic warfare aircraft that most people have never heard of, and that Iran's remaining coastal defense infrastructure is now discovering it cannot defeat. The EA-18G Growler. U.S. Central Command released imagery on March 17th of a VAQ-133 EA-18G Growler launching from the USS Abraham Lincoln during Operation Epic Fury, configured with 4 AGM-88 anti-radiation missiles, 2 AIM-120 AMRAAMs, 2 480-gallon external fuel tanks, and electronic warfare jamming pods. That loadout is not a standard peacetime configuration. It is a wartime weapons integration specifically designed to compress the entire kill chain, detect, disrupt, and destroy into a single aircraft on a single mission, without waiting for separate shooter platforms to complete the sequence. Understanding why that matters requires understanding what Iran's remaining threat architecture actually looks like after 32 days of American and Israeli strikes. Iran's navy is largely on the seafloor. Its air force is in ruins. Its missile production facilities are smoking craters. But the strait remains effectively closed, not because Iran retains a conventional military capable of stopping American warships, but because of what remains. Coastal surveillance radars scanning every vessel transiting the corridor. Shore-based anti-ship missile launchers hidden among civilian infrastructure along a mountainous coastline. Fast attack boats that need those radars to identify targets before launching. And underwater unmanned vehicles operating beneath the surface in water too shallow and too commercially congested for conventional anti-submarine tactics. Each threat individually is manageable, layered together across 21 miles of contested water, with the specific geography of the strait making every approach a known, trackable corridor. They create an intimidation environment so psychologically effective that tanker crews sitting outside the strait, doing the math on their chances of transiting safely, keep concluding that the risk is not worth the fee. The Growler attacks that entire threat architecture at its foundation. The aircraft carries the AN/ALQ-218 wideband receivers on its wingtips, enabling passive detection, identification, and geolocation of every Iranian coastal radar emission without the Growler itself broadcasting a single detectable signal. It listens. It maps. It builds a real-time electronic picture of every radar emitter along the Iranian coastline, identifying which systems are active, where they are located, what frequency bands they are operating on, and what targeting functions they are performing, all without alerting those systems that they are being observed. That passive intelligence function alone changes the operational picture at the strait. When 3 Growlers fly and network their data links together, they can instantly pinpoint the exact origin of a hostile radio frequency, giving strike planners a continuously updated map of every active threat emitter along the approach corridor before a single commercial vessel attempts transit. Then the Growler moves from observation to attack. The loadout configuration seen in CENTCOM's released imagery combines electronic attack capability with multiple anti-radiation missiles, a deliberate wartime trade-off that points to a Growler being used not merely as a support platform in the rear, but as a forward electronic attack shooter inside a dynamic strike architecture. The jamming sequence operates across multiple simultaneous frequencies and modes. Noise jamming floods Iranian radar screens with enough electronic interference to render targeting displays essentially unreadable. Deception jamming generates dozens of false targets simultaneously, confronting Iranian missile battery operators with a radar picture so cluttered with phantom ships that identifying and locking onto real commercial vessels becomes operationally impossible. Precision spot jamming burns through the specific frequency bands that individual radar systems depend on, silencing them selectively without the broad-spectrum disruption that might interfere with neutral commercial shipping navigation systems operating in the same waterway. The AN/ALQ-249 Next Generation Jammer Mid-Band Pod which CENTCOM imagery confirmed is deployed aboard Abraham Lincoln's Growler squadron alongside older ALQ-99 systems, represents a significant generational leap in jamming capability, offering increased power and longer range delivered through electronically scanned array technology that enables rapid software updates to counter frequency hopping attempts in real time. That last capability is specifically relevant at Hormuz. Iranian radar operators, aware that American jamming is targeting their systems, can attempt to evade detection by rapidly shifting their transmission frequencies, a technique that older jamming technology struggles to counter because the shift happens faster than legacy systems can reacquire. The NGJMB's software-defined architecture means frequency hopping evasion buys Iran's radar operators seconds rather than minutes before the jamming reacquires and resuppresses their systems. And for any radar operator who decides that the solution is to simply shut down rather than be jammed, the AGM-88 anti-radiation missiles provide a uniquely elegant counter. The AGM-88 family of anti-radiation missiles can track, target, and eliminate radar sources even after those radars have shut down, using the last known emission location and the missile's onboard memory to continue tracking a target that has gone silent. An Iranian radar operator who turns off their system to avoid jamming does not escape the missile already in the air. They merely changed the problem from being jammed to being destroyed by a weapon that remembered where they were. The Growler creates an electronic corridor along the Iranian shoreline, a corridor through which commercial shipping can transit with coastal radar coverage suppressed, anti-ship missile targeting degraded, and fast attack boat coordination disrupted at its command and control layer. That electronic corridor is now operating in combination with the USS Tripoli's 19-20 F-35B Lightning II stealth fighters, aircraft that can exploit the suppressed radar environment the Growler creates to operate with significantly reduced detection risk, executing precision strikes against any emitter or launcher that the Growler identifies as active. The Growler finds and blinds. The F-35B follows and destroys. The sequence collapses what would otherwise require multiple coordinated aircraft packages into a two-platform kill chain operating with a speed and coordination that Iran's degraded command structure cannot match. CENTCOM confirmed that the USS Abraham Lincoln continues flight operations day and night during Operation Epic Fury, executing back-to-back strike waves while the Growler provides continuous electronic attack support across the approaches to the Strait of Hormuz. The residual threats are real: scattered coastal launchers camouflaged among civilian infrastructure, fast attack boats using the radar intelligence those coastal systems provide, underwater unmanned vehicles operating beneath the noise floor of commercially congested shipping lanes. President Trump stated in his primetime address that finishing the job will take 2 to 3 more weeks, a timeline that depends entirely on the systematic suppression of exactly these remaining asymmetric capabilities. 20-plus Western-aligned vessels have already transited the strait in recent days, a number too small to represent full normalization, but too significant to be coincidental. Each transit represents a data point confirming that the electronic corridors being created are functional, that the suppression architecture is working well enough for some traffic to move while the full clearance operation continues. Iran's coastal defense infrastructure was designed for a world in which radar meant eyes, and eyes meant targeting advantage. The Growler operates in a world where radar emissions are intelligence feeds that passively locate every system Iran switches on, and where the decision to turn a radar on is functionally equivalent to the decision to accept a missile strike. That is not a tactical advantage. That is a fundamental inversion of the threat calculus that Iran's entire Hormuz strategy depended on. The strait is not fully open. The work is not finished. The human cost of this campaign remains real, and the outcome carries genuine uncertainty. But Iran cannot shoot what it cannot see. And right now, at day 32 of Operation Epic Fury, America's Growlers are making sure that Iran cannot see very much at all. If this gave you the clearest technical picture yet of how America is forcing open the Strait of Hormuz, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit the notification bell Share this video immediately with someone who needs to understand that the most decisive weapon over Hormuz right now makes no sound, fires no visible projectile, and leaves no visible trace. It simply reaches out across the electromagnetic spectrum and turns Iran's coastal defenses off.